progressive rock as a global language, but when it speaks with a Nordic accent, you stop and listen. Why? Because Scandinavian prog is uniquely volatile. It's mixing folk whimsy with crushing metal, jazz fusion brilliance with King Crimson's dark legacy. And really get ready to explore some more of the sounds of the North, where prog makes progress in every sense of the word. Let's take a look, shall we? In the early 1970s, particularly in Sweden, the music scene coalesced around what they call prog, P-R-O-G-G, a movement as much political and anti-commercial as it was musical. Now, this was a clear statement against the capitalist pop machine, and whilst not all prog G was prog rock, the ethos of independent thought and experimentation created a fertile ground for bands like Samla, Manna. In Finland, labels like Love Records championed progressive acts, setting the stage for future generations. So in the 1990s, the retro prog movement saw Swedish bands like Anekdoten and avant-garde proudly carrying the dark mellotron-heavy torch of early King Crimson. Now, fast forward to the modern era, and Scandinavia continues to dominate, with Norway, Sweden and Finland really producing some of the most dynamic and heavy progressive metal and art rock of the 21st century. Now, hailing from Sweden, we start with Kultivator, who are one of those legendary late-blooming bands that really prog fans just simply adore. They only released one album during their original run, but it's a cult classic. Their sound was an exuberant and eclectic blend, drawing heavily on the jazz-infused quirkiness of the Canterbury scene and the complexity of Gentle Giant. Now, what it is, it's a delightful journey back to the vintage keyboard sounds of the early 70s, despite the album not being released until 1981. One critic noted that the band sounded like a mix of Van der Graaf Generator, Gentle Giant, Manfred Mann, and a touch of the Canterbury sound. Some mixture indeed. Their extensive use of vintage keyboards is truly magnificent, leading another reviewer to exclaim that if you love vintage keyboards, then they are everywhere with this band. Its instrumental brilliance, even if their Swedish vocals sometimes divide listeners. Album to start with is the 1981 Barndomen Stigner. Now, Anekdoten stand as a pillar of the 1980s Swedish retro prog movement, establishing a dark, brooding and intensely powerful sound. They're perhaps the most direct heir to the dramatic, mellotron-drenched sound of the Red era King Crimson. But what sets them apart is the essential role of the cello, which weaves a sonorous, melancholic thread through their heavy guitar-driven soundscapes. A review in the IE magazine praised their 1993 debut, stating, "Anekdoten make a fantastic and visionary music that, dare I say, it leaves Robert Fripp's 80s attempt to resurrect King Crimson just way behind." Now, their music, it's heavy, but it avoids metal, creating instead perhaps an atmosphere of dramatic intensity and haunting beauty. This is cemented by an abundance of the mellotron, obviously. Album to start with is Vimod from 1993. Now, if Prog G had a court gesture, it would be Samla Manna's Manna. Part of the original 70s Swedish scene, their sound is chaotic but brilliant, and it's a collision of jazz fusion, traditional Scandinavian folk, avant-garde and the whimsical absurdity of Frank Zappa. Now, their music is known for its intricate complexity and masterful musicianship, really blending serious technical skill with pure unbridled silliness. Reviewers often point to this tension with prog archives, noting that they seamlessly fuse the nonchalant goofiness of Frank Zappa with the heady, hairpin tunes and compositional complexities of Henry Cow. The band made use of traditional instruments like the accordion and marimbas, really giving their jazz fusion a unique folksy texture. Now, if you wanted a prog band that sounds like a party thrown by musical geniuses, then this is really it. Album to start with, Malted from 1973. Motorpsycho are a band of staggeringly productive and endlessly stylistic curiosity, boasting, nearly 34 albums now since the late 80s. Their music is a vast tapestry that weaves together psychedelic rock, grunge, krautrock, and really some epic progressive rock. They're known for their sprawling extended pieces and rich, dreamy textures that really can suddenly snap into big, crunchy, grunge-era guitars. They have been compared to the likes of Gong, Dungan and Amplifier. But despite their immense output, and often long-form tracks, the elite Extreme Methyl praise their ability to remain digestible and consistently solid. Their sound is dynamic and engaging, frequently featuring Motorpsycho-inspired rhythms and big crunchy guitars, particularly on their latest work. Motorpsycho, or a sonic history of rock, filtered through a psychedelic Nordic lens. Album to start with is Timothy's Monster from 1994. They're representing the modern Norwegian progressive metal scene. Leprous are a band really defined by its chameleonic evolution and the incredible vocal talents of Einar Solberg. They started in the realms of complex, heavy progressive metal, but really have since moved towards a more, perhaps unique, rhythmic and arc rock influenced sound, with perhaps a greater focus on individual band contributions. Solberg's voice is a signature element, it goes without saying, praised for its incredible range, from a low croon to a bluesy riff to falsetto shriek. Now, Spinning stated that their ability to create music that is both complex and full of soul is truly remarkable. Some of their later work has pulled back on symphonic and overt prog elements. It remains deeply creative and rhythmically complex, proving that a lighter touch can still be profoundly progressive. Album to start off with is The Congregation from 2015. Now, a central figure in the modern Norwegian scene, Bjorn Riis is best known really as the lead guitarist and primary songwriter for the band Airbag, but it's his solo work that are equally compelling. Riis specialises in a melancholic atmospheric style that really has earned him comparisons to the classic sounds of Pink Floyd, Porcupine Tree and Anekdoten. His music is defined by lush soundscapes and his signature, beautifully melodic guitar work. His album, Fimble Vinter, was called a deep, haunting and melancholic album by Prog Archives, really showcasing his atmospheric soundscapes. Now, his solo output emphasises introspection and emotional depth, with 9 circles really noting that his music rises and falls in the rhythmic breaths of his anxiety, really making for a captivating and highly atmospheric listening experience. Album to start with here, Lullabies in a Car Crash from 2025. The Van Hertzen brothers are a Finnish trio, a self-proclaimed progressive art rock band, really that offers an infectious feel-good blend of classic 70s rock, theatrics, and modern progression. The 3 brothers, Mikko, Kai and Jean, possess a fantastic musical chemistry that allows them to fuse the hard rock energy of Queens of the Stone Age with the bombastic layered sounds of Muse and Stephen Wilson. The Prog Report praised their more recent work for being really simple, punchy and rocking, but still packed with dramatic yet seamless musical shifts that astonish, delight and satisfy. They are masters of the anthemic chorus and the exhilarating guitar solo, really making their albums immediately satisfying and fun, a refreshing counterpoint to some of prog's denser offerings. Album to start off with here, Love Remains the Same from 2008. Now, whilst geographically and culturally distinct, Iceland's Sigur Rós are a cornerstone of the broader Nordic progressive sound, so they fit into a category really all of their own, post-rock. Their music is famed for its glacial pace, orchestral scale and the haunting ethereal falsetto of Jonsi. Their sound relies on immense slow-built crescendos and texture, using bowed guitars and layers of sound to create what can only be described really as a sonic landscape. A recent review in The Guardian described their latest work as really leaning back into the grand orchestral crescendos that define their best loved work. Leaning back into the grand orchestral crescendos that define their best loved work as glacial in pace as they are in beauty. The work achieves a unique kind of transcendence, a purified beauty, a deeply emotional sound that remains one of the most recognisable in modern music. Album to start off with here is Egitis, Bjorn, from 1999. Gargamel are a Norwegian progressive rock band known for their retro sound, often drawing comparisons to classic 1970s act. Formed in the early 2000s, they released their debut, Watch for the Umblers, in 2006. Their music is characterised by complex layered arrangements, blending progressive rock with jazz and avant-garde elements. The band heavily uses vintage keyboards like the Hammond organ and the Mellotron, thus creating a rich, nostalgic texture. Both their debut and their 2009 album Descending were well received by international progressive rock critics. Their commitment to the intricate, dramatic style of classic progressive rock really defines their artistic identity with the niche. Album to start with here is Descending from 2009. So there you have it. A trip across the progressive frontiers of Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland and Denmark. From the deep political roots of the 70s to the modern masters of heavy atmospheric and technicality. Nordic prog is diverse, it's brilliant and absolutely essential listening. Which of these bands are you adding to your playlist first? Let me know in the comments as well any bands I've missed but you would like adding. Check out the description for some more information on the bands and purchasing links to the highlighted albums if they are not already in your collections. Now, I shot another video about Nordic prog bands here, and that's the video I want you to watch next. I'll see you over there.